Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert, coming to you live with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. This is my trusty drink that doubles for my tea on Tuesday Tea Times. I often talk about B2B sales worries. One, because it's not easy to sell to corporations, and two, because even people who are seasoned, either CEOs, owner operators, or who make this their career, still have worries. They've gotten over some of them, obviously, because they have some track record, but new devil, new level, all that stuff, like everything is changing constantly. So I thought I'd do another segment on the biggest B2B sales worries that I hear of and that I know my clients have. So 43% of sales leaders say it takes longer, and it's less than a third of the leads are qualified. So these are some of the problems that we're going to get into. And some of their top worries is one is the long sales cycle is one of the biggest ones. So 73% of buyers are taking a month before the purchase. And this is especially worse after COVID. And most of the buying journey is done online before a rep is even contacted. They have 2 or 3 in mind, corporate buyers, and they're purchasing up to $1.5 million worth of products and services just through this online research. Most of their purchases are done that way, but even purchasing online has gone to the 1.5 million and under. So it's a lot of big purchases happening just without any involvement of the sales rep. In fact, I had one of my topics is the sales rep dead, right? Kind of somber, but it really brings to the forefront what your marketing needs to be. It has to be so sharp. It has to be so present and so pervasive in the target market's world that they're not going to have difficulty finding you. And once they find you online, your presence is going to speak to what their pain is and to the level of expertise that they're looking for. How do you overcome a long sales cycle? Well, so first of all, follow up is key. And some very scary follow-up figures are that people are just not doing it, right? I mean, there's so much research about how you need to contact them 12 times. Most people quit on the second time. Most people are just following up to say, can you hire me, please? Have you made a decision on hiring me? Hey, I'm just checking in. I mean, these are not what buyers want to hear. They're jaded, they're running. They don't even want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to vendors. So how do you follow up with them? You follow up with meaningful value added gifts, propositions, reports, just meaningful, contextual, something that's relevant to their pain. It always has to do with their pain. The second way to shorten the long buying cycle is a strong sales meeting and a sales process. So what I mean by that is when I train my clients on how to hold sales meetings, we make sure to uncover the urgency in the meeting. We make sure to uncover the cost of the problem, and we make sure to uncover the budget that they have. And there's a whole series of questions that we ask to uncover these things in a very strategic way that is a very thought out process. So if you don't have a strong selling process and you don't have a strong meeting, you're just going to go from bouncing from one decision maker to the other. It's going to be deferred. It's going to be delayed. And most of the time, it's not going to close because the longer the sales cycle, the lower the likelihood of it closing, right? The next way is to close the timeline for the long sales cycle is to be highly differentiated. Now, that is one of the things that I teach my clients that are, $1 million plus CEO owner operators of companies that are selling to corporations is how to be super niched. And when you're very, very, very defined and a very well-defined specialist in a specific niche of an industry, you're almost like a diamond in the rough. And it's something that nobody is doing. And most people are trying to, niche into more general things. But if you find that one aspect of their pain that you can become a specialist in, and it's a very expensive problem, believe me, they will have time to hear you out all day. They will want to read your content, and they will want to see what you can do to help them, because they've been struggling with these problems potentially for years. And if you can show up and have a sales meeting and show them how to solve that problem for once and for all, the door is wide open for you. So that's why long sales cycles are beatable, because when you know what you're talking about, you are super, super niched and clear. You are tailoring to their pain and to their industry everything that you're saying in that meeting. If you have a strong sales process to get them to uncover some of these urgencies, and if you find out what the budget is, because statistically, when budget is discussed in the first meeting, it closes way faster. So those are some of the ways that I teach my clients how to shrink the long sales cycle. Number 2 is, what do you do when there's multiple decision makers? After COVID, and especially when buying power has been sort of decentralized, it's really has gone to a much bigger buying committee. So what do you do with a bigger buying committee? Yes, it's way more heads, that can say no. Yes, it's way more people to organize and to convince. But here's some of the good news. You can reach only one of those, let's say an average of 7 buyers in the buying committee. And if you can get in with them, and if you can convince them, that they'll bring you on board. So the good part is, if one of them is a miss, or one of them you can't catch, well, then you can go on to the next one, or to the next one, and to the next one. So in effect, as a committee, they're buying, but you can use them as an influencer and a leverage. So that is the good news. And that's what we do, is by being constantly present with our marketing in their world, we catch their attention and we target them actively through ABM methods, which is account-based marketing, where we're like head to head targeting them by sending them things, by addressing them directly and addressing their pain directly, and getting in front of them and in their world. So if we can catch just one of them, potentially they'll bring us in front of the other 6, which on average is 7 to 12. So the average of 7 is for the 100 to 500 employee companies. And so what are some of the solves? As I was telling you, you can target anyone and hook the interest. The sales meeting, when you do have that strong sales meeting that I was telling you about, you do need to address all of their needs, because they're all going to be looking at it from their own perspective. Potentially they're from different departments, they're from different functions. So you need to conduct the sales meeting in a way that takes into account all of their visions, all of the obstacles that they all each see, and all of the cost of not overcoming the obstacle that you need to ask them one by one in that meeting, so that everybody feels heard, is on the same page, and you can co-create a solution that includes all of their issues into what you're going to present as a way to help them. So the sales meeting has to address all of the pain points and I like to say, for both the pain and the person, and for all of the people in between who have a stake and a say. And then industry expertise will let you speak their language and know their pain. So one of the reasons why I insist on clients getting industry specific is so they can speak that language inside and out. They're completely aware of all the pain points because they're working with them, and they can actually give live examples of actual clients that they're working with. And they don't have to say the name, but they can give real life examples of exactly how they've helped solve that pain and what they did to solve it and what the results are. Because when you're not niched in a specific industry and you're not an expert in their language and in their pain, it's really hard to hook 1, let alone 7 decision makers. Okay. Number 3 worry for the biggest B2B sales worry is generating qualified leads. There is so much data and AI and funnels and marketing to generate qualified leads, but yet it is the biggest miss in marketing. Only 27%, according to this research, leads that are sent to sales teams are deemed to be qualified. So what do you do with that? So the reason why I think there's so much unqualified leads is, one, people are using, or companies are using, generic funnels and generic methods to gain customers. And by that, I mean, they're just taking generic language, generic targeting, and just spraying everywhere and anywhere. And they're not really specific about who they target. They're not really specific about which problem they solve. And that's how you know, is because you're getting constantly people that are not your ideal clients, that are not the kind of client that you want in terms of the number one problem that you solve, that you want to solve in that market, and the number one thing that they'll pay you for, that is a very expensive pain point. But when you've done the research and the homework and the strategic work to figure out what is that one target and that gap in the market, that's when you know exactly who you need to go after and what you need to say to them. If you don't know that, your generic marketing is just flowing out into the market, selling everything to everyone, and that's how everything is coming back to you, is unqualified. So that's the first thing, is I recommend real clarity and focus on who you target, so you actually know how to funnel your marketing and who to funnel it to. And what is the pain point, like the most expensive facet, like nothing big, like retention, that's super big, or loss of sales, or saving costs. Like these are too big. You need to really hone it down and own just one tiny bit of that pain, and then become an expert in it. And that's when you can actually be a specialist that people will know who is qualified for you and who isn't. Not just in your marketing department, but also in your messaging that the marketing department sends, in where the ads and social media are placed, in where you physically go or your reps go to network and to speak, because they will know which industry to target and to get in front of. Okay. Now, the other way that you can have better qualified leads is obviously to have pre-qualified funnels. Not only are you going to be now more focused and niche, but you need to have questionnaires before people can meet with you. You need to eliminate prospects by very specific criteria. So for example, like you can do it by size, income, industry. You can do it by need, geography, headcount. There are so many ways that you can really look at, okay, these are like non-negotiables. These people, these companies never ever hire us. So you need to figure out what is the pain that they have that's the most relevant, that you can solve, that will pay you the most amount of money. And are they in that industry that you figured out strategically is the right one for you? And then what kind of processes can you put in, like the questionnaire and like, multiple videos that educate them about who exactly you're looking for and what problem you actually solve. Because then the prospect, if they're not right for you, they will check themselves out and cancel the meeting, or not even book the meeting, if you're clear enough and your marketing is clear enough about who you want. And then you have some barriers to meeting with you, which are these questionnaires. Okay. And I have done that. I went on a podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire. I think it was during COVID. I actually, it almost broke my scheduler funnel, because I had offered a free consultation after doing a demo elevator pitch polish with the host. And what ended up happening was there were so many unqualified leads that came in through my sales meeting funnel that I literally had to very quickly implement this questionnaire for the people who are signing up, and for the people who didn't even have a business, or they were under a certain revenue. I had an automated message saying, it looks like you're not at the level of business development that make up our clients. I'm sorry, but how about, we talk again in a year when you're ready, something like that, which was, and then instead we sent them a book, or we sent them something else of value, like a free training or something that would help them get to the next level. So that's pre-qualifying, and it works. Okay. The last topic is one of my favorite ones. I should just do one just on this. It's handling objections. And top reps are 843% more likely to overcome objections versus average performing sales reps. So, sales 101, price objections. I remember my mom had a sales objections handbook, believe it or not. And because she was in corporate sales, she, was a lawyer, and we immigrated to Canada, and obviously she lost her license to operate in Canada, and she didn't want to go back to university, and she just went into corporate sales. And one of the things that they gave her, or she got for herself, I can't remember, but was this objections book. And I remember studying it. And I used to sell cemetery property when I was a student. And I remember like reading that book. That was one of the first books that I read, like self-development books. And it said to literally, this I learned when I was 16. It said to literally rehearse every single objection that could come out, and then, prepare a rebuttal for it. How amazing is that? Like, you just don't even think of it. Of course, that's like, sales 101. Now, but it's the statistics show you that not everybody can handle objections. So look at this, 60% say no 4 times. 60% of prospects say no 4 times before they say yes. And price objection is the most common one. So what do you do about objections, right? So the first is this process, the sales process that I'm teaching, that I learned that I'm teaching, is something that reveals, one, the urgency, the pain, and the pleasure of the problem. And so the pain is the cost of how much is it costing your company? Is it going to cost you your job? And what is the vision, which is the pleasure? Like, what's going to happen when this is fixed? So if in the sales conversation, you are able to get them to the pleasure and the pain, and you're able to establish yourself as the vehicle and the conduit between the pleasure and the pain, or the pain and the pleasure, that's when you can overcome the objection, any objection, including the price one. So what happens is, if there's any other objections other than price, you can overcome it by going back to, and including the price, actually, you can overcome it by going back to the pleasure and the pain. Always the pleasure and the pain. You can go back, and that's a device that I've learned about sales that always works. And it doesn't matter what the size of the deal is, who the industry is, whether it's B2B or B2C, it works. I've taught it for, over a decade, and my clients are both B2B and B2C, mostly B2B and selling to corporations, but it always works. Always refer the objection back to their pain, cost, and consequence. How much would it cost if you never solved this problem? How much would it cost the company? How much would it cost you? So objections is a really, really hot topic that I'm actually going to do a deep dive in, maybe even next week. So stay tuned. But those are some of the biggest B2B sales worries. And I hope this was helpful. And I hope after watching this, you have a few more ideas about how to deal with those worries. Take care. See you next week.